Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another amazing episode here on the Train Hard Live Strong podcast. As you already know, I'm your host, Coach Matt, and today we have an amazing guest speaker. So I'm happy to introduce you all, Joey Szatmary. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. I'm good. Like I was saying before and earlier, it's an honor to have you on the show, dude. You have an amazing passion for fitness training, strength and conditioning, all that stuff, dude. You have a good head on your shoulders, man. You have good motivation. I love the stuff that you put, dude, on your Instagram, man, about like your Twitter and the things that you talk about, dude. It's like that stuff is awesome, man. It gets me going. So I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be on, man. And I think we'll talk about some good stuff, have some great conversation, and hopefully help some people. So I'm always excited to get on and just have a good combo.
Yeah, man. That's what it's all about. Okay, sweet. So, for everyone listening right now, dude, our current listeners, future listeners, people just who don't know who you are, you might have a big story, bro, but can you give like a nice little background story and just how Joey got to who you are today?
Yeah, oof. I don't even know where I begin, but I'll just start with the basics. Right now, I'm a competitive strongman athlete. If you watch World's Strongest Man, basically I do all of that stuff just at a lighter weight class,
Hmm.
the heavyweight class or middleweight, depending on the organization. So that's kind of what I'm doing currently. However, I'm a pretty well-rounded strength sport athlete in general, where I've competed in CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting. I've done a bodybuilding show. I've just always been involved with strength training of some nature. I went to college for lacrosse, and throughout middle school, high school, played sports, did pretty well at those, and excelled. So that's kind of like I would say athletic career and kind of training career.
Hmm.
I'm a gym owner, so I run a brick and mortar business as well as an online business,
Hell yeah.
so I try to grow social media and all that kind of stuff, and just share, my passion for strength and conditioning, going back, even before all that stuff, it wasn't always that way. And it wasn't always what people kind of see right now, like I grew up always, somebody who's like kind and caring, but I definitely was I'll say overweight, and I
Hmm.
kind of went through the phase of like, being bullied through elementary school and into middle school,
Wow.
and really like lack confidence. And I think, as I kind of, didn't like that lifestyle anymore and I wanted to make a change, that's kind of what brought fitness into my life. And, I always tell the story because, it's kind of funny, but it was probably a little bit extreme too, where, I would just like lock myself in my room. Like my parents didn't really even know what was going on. I would just put on music and I would do like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and just keep doing it until I got better and better. And I think over one summer I lost, probably like 20 pounds of just, getting after it. But I used to do
Yeah.
like sit-ups in the shower, like weird stuff. Like I almost
That's
didn't want
crazy.
people to like see what I was doing,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was kind of going through like that metamorphosis, trying to transform myself. And back then it's like you really didn't know much, right? There wasn't like as well for me, I didn't even know where to look. So I just kind of started
Yeah.
making up my own things and, you know, had no idea, really no structure. It was just, keep moving and try to clean up your eating a little bit. And I think at that point I was just outworking my nutrition so much that that's what
Hmm.
led to that much of a deficit in calories to lose the weight. But yeah, so like my whole life has just been based on overcoming obstacles, overcoming adversity, trying to become my strongest version of myself. And it's been a wild ride. I've gotten to meet a lot of crazy people in the industry and become friends with these people, learn from some of the best mentors and coaches out there, and just blessed to do what I do, man. So I guess that's kind of the long nutshell story that you're looking for, but I'm sure we can dive into anything you want.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome, dude. To give you like a little background about me too, bro. That's so funny that you say that. So my thing was almost basically the opposite. I was like a 5'10" freaking twig, dude. So, I was like 130 pounds. I played basketball my whole life, but I wanted to get into like football in high school and stuff like that. But obviously when you get into high school, dude, you have all these like junior high schools, right? And then they all come to one high school and it's like, dude, I didn't even know these freaking like beasts existed, and now they're like, here trying to compete against the same position or whatnot. And I was like, I was athletic, but I didn't look athletic at all. I was just, tall and just thin. And I wanted to play football. I wanted to get more like competitive in my sport, but I was always super shy, dude. Like low self-esteem, not confident at all in anything that I was capable of. And behind closed doors, when I would play basketball myself, I'd work on tons of different things, and whenever I was doing stuff like how you said, basically body work, I would be knocking out push-ups, same thing, sit-ups, all that stuff, and trying to get that pump, right? Um, and whenever freshman summer going into sophomore year, all the way to senior year, I dedicated myself to training, dude. Like get into the weight room. I had a buddy of mine that actually started training before I did because his stepdad was like huge into training. So we went to the gym, and before we'd go to the gym, dude, there was a Taco Bell right there, and I would slam down like burritos, dude, soft tacos. I'd eat a bunch of crap, and then I'd go to the gym for like 3, 4 hours, and then we would train forever, dude, for like just doing a bunch of nonsense. And over a span of 3.5 years, from sophomore to senior year, I gained like 50, 60 pounds, went from like 130 to like 185, 190. And then that was like my high school, I guess, experience and me jumping into training and fitness and stuff like that. But I had no idea whatsoever what I was doing. I had like a partial tear in my right shoulder. I've strained both, or I strained one quad in football, so that stopped me playing football. Just a bunch of stuff that my body was like, dude, like you're trying to train and this and that, but like you have no idea what you're doing, and it was
Mhm.
definitely telling me for sure. But it's crazy how we all like have and I think coming from like guys, right? It's like a different experience because we trying to compete with all these alphas, or trying to be an alpha or whatever. And and you'll do things when people like when no one's looking, right? To try to gain that confidence and grow that self-esteem. And that gets you to who you are today, and I think that's awesome, because if I were to look at you, dude, right? I'm a regular guy and I'm looking at you. I would think like, dude, Joey's got, he's got this genetic stuff. He's genetically big. He's genetically strong. He's just genetically fit like this. He was probably born like this. But little do we know, right? It's something like what you experienced as a young kid and you doing the things that you did to get to who you are today. I think that's the big piece that people miss out on.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I tell everybody, I'm not anything special. It may seem that way, but I'm a normal human being, just like everybody else. I just really had a hard work ethic, and I had goals that I consistently worked towards. So even in school, man, like in school, I was probably like an average student, and then it kind of is funny how it all works hand in hand, right? Like you start training in the gym, and then I started getting in my mindset of, I want to become a better student. Like I have more potential in me to be a better student. And, I finished with like a pretty high GPA in high school. It's like it kept getting better and better and better. And that
Mhm.
kind of just made me realize like we all put this ceiling on ourselves and we limit ourselves, but we're truly capable of so much more. So, this whole thing for me, even though yes, it's like strength training and that's a big part of my life, is it all really comes full circle. So, even if you guys are listening to this and maybe, you're listening to the show or following both of us on social media and you're like, man, like those guys are so out of reach. It's not like that at all. If
Mhm.
you come up with a plan and you have a strong reason why and you create these good habits, like the world is your oyster, guys. So yeah, for me, it's been a lot of self transformation and, like you said, a lot of stuff behind closed doors to get the end product.
Yep.
And when people meet me, I think sometimes too they're surprised. Like they may have in their head like, oh, this is a really big guy, like he's super muscular, he's kind of intimidating, and then
Yeah.
we have a conversation. I like to always flip the narrative on them, and they're like,
Yeah.
man, like I wasn't expecting him to be that cool or chill or like
Right.
whatever. So I try to make everybody realize that pretty quickly on.
Yeah, no, that's important, dude. That's important. There's a quote, dude, a famous quote by Dan Pena, I believe his name is. I love this quote, dude. And he says, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you future." I and you saying that you're, surrounding yourself with like great mentors or great coaches to, give you great advice and stuff like that. I think that's very important for people who are wanting to jump into any industry, strength, powerlifting, CrossFit, regular just bodybuilding, figure, whatever it is, female, male, whatever you're trying to do. I think it's important for you to surround yourself with the right people. Whenever I started, I went with my friends, right? And it's cool, going with your friends, but obviously he didn't know anything either, and I don't know anything either. So we're jumping into an ocean of like all this stuff where there's so many different roads to take, and we're probably taking all the wrong road. Now I'm pretty sure we did some right stuff, but just showing up was the right thing. But then doing the 3 to 4 hours in the gym for no reason, just a ton of crap, and then nutrition out of the window. But we met with these two guys I'll never forget, dude, Chris and Larry. And those guys were, obviously older, I think in the like mid 40s. Larry was like in his mid 50s, I think. And they just knew a lot, dude. They played football in high school. I think they both played football in college. So they knew a lot of stuff and, basically put us under their wing and they showed us, what training looks like, how to get stronger, how to take care of your joints, how to take care of just yourself overall. Because if you can't, if you're not in the best shape or in the best health position, and you don't know how to mobilize your body and use it the right way, then you're going to be lifting weights, and not in alignment or in a misalignment, and you're going to hurt something. So they taught us all these things. And I think who you surround yourself with in this circle of training, because there's so many different variations, right? People are putting so much stuff on, Instagram, which we didn't have back in the day or whatever. And so it can get very confusing for a lot of people. So I think it's important to surround yourself with the right people, just like you said you had too.
Yeah, yeah. I've put something on my Instagram, and it's done really well performance-wise as a post. And I don't know who initially had said this, but basically it was like just like what you said. If you're the strongest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And a lot of people
Yeah,
take
that's
that
good, dude.
yeah, a lot
That's
of people take
good.
it literally, which is not what it actually literally means. But it's just that you want to surround yourself with people who are pushing you, who know more than you, so that you can learn from them, and
Mm,
kind of just be in an environment that is making you thrive. So like a big
absolutely.
part of my gym is the culture there and the kind of people that we have, because those are the type of people that are going to level you up. And it doesn't mean necessarily that everyone is a monster or a freak. Like I learned stuff from guys, who are 160 pounds or whatever. Like, but it's just the attitude and the culture. And if,
Mhm.
like you had said, you look at the people you surround yourself with, you're going to be a byproduct of those people. So
Right.
one of the quickest things you can do is just a quick audit on your friends. Like, okay, these are the 5 people I spend the most time with. And then you can kind of see the correlation of, okay, like, yeah, I'm pretty much a combination of all this. And is that good? Is that bad? Is it, and these are my goals. Like, is this group of people going to help me attain these goals? And,
Mhm.
I think more often than not, the answer is no. But, if the answer is yes, then like you're in the right place, and you
Right.
want to do that. And then if you can't find those people, you got to just start thinking or looking like, where do these people hang out that I want to be like, and then go
Mhm.
put yourself in that situation. And that's going to really help you make a lot of progress a lot faster than being stagnant.
Yeah, dude. No, absolutely. I 100% agree with you, dude. Because as soon as I, went into different, listening to different people, or even just down to this a little podcast you might listen to, right? If you're listening to someone that is going to level you up, and that's surrounding yourself with someone or something, or just positive energy that's going to make you grow in a certain way. But as soon as I start doing that, man, jumping out my comfort zone, especially leaving your comfort zone, and dropping down, your pride as well. There was a point in time where I was in the army and I was training and I thought I knew it all, dude. Like I thought I figured it out because I was training people and I was helping them and they were getting faster, bigger, stronger, more athletic. They were crushing PT scores. And then, you know, um, I never gave myself the room to drop down, not really drop down, but just kind of open up my mindset, open up my perspective and help and allow people to teach me something. Cause just like you said, dude, that was a struggle for me a long time is I would look at someone that maybe, was an expert in like flexibility, dude, knew how to mobilize themselves, like knew how to just take care of every single movement and just move in the best line possible. And I thought I would know better, right? So, me not being open-minded and taking in their knowledge, that was something that I suffered from for just a little bit of time. As soon as I started to open up my mindset to allow people to bring in the knowledge, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to grow in this industry. You're supposed to grow in your journey, in your health and fitness journey, whatever it is. And if you think you figured it out, I guarantee there's room for improvement anywhere, even with us or any other expert out there, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, I think what does make me unique as an individual is I do like a lot of things.
Mhm.
It's a blessing and a curse. You're right, because it's like I don't know if I'll ever become the best at one thing because I like so many things.
I feel you, dude.
But
I feel you.
yeah, but with that, it's really helped me develop different perspectives on a lot of different things, and really, it's kind of just like, okay, even if I don't wholeheartedly agree with this person or this topic, I always find there's one thing I can take away from it. So
Yep.
it's just kind of going in with that open mindedness, and also finding a way to have, I want to say, like more just more in-depth conversations with people to either understand where they're coming from or they can
Mhm,
understand where you're coming from. And there's
mhm,
a way you can do it in a proper way. But I always think, approaching a situation with an open mind or, trying to get out of your comfort zone, like you said, there's nothing but positive things that can come out of that. And at least, if anything, you just said to yourself, like, I tried this, and that's the perk right there. Like, you went for it. You did something, you tried something, you listened to somebody, whether you completely disagree with them or not, like, you did step out of that comfort zone, which, by far, or the byproduct of that is growth.
mhm. Always, dude. Absolutely. What does Oh, especially coming from you, man. Just like you said, I'm the same way, dude. I feel like I'm the same way, just like how you are. I like to do so many different things. I can't just settle for just powerlifting. I have to throw it into like a hit circuit, dude. I can't just stick with just powerlifting and hit circuits. I got to do, aesthetic training. Like there's so much different stuff that I enjoy doing, especially when it comes down to like athletic performance and just simply strength conditioning. I just love doing all these different things. So I totally feel you. Um, but also too, I think we get a lot from everything, that makes us just a better human being. So what does training do for you, man? Like what does it do for Joey? How does it make you better, even just in life?
Yeah, man. So training for me is honestly medicine, dude. Training for me has helped me with mental health in general. I
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
a history with depression and anxiety, and one of the biggest outlets for me it was being able to go to the gym and train. And that just helped a lot with that kind of stuff. So, if any of your listeners, have a previous history with depression or anxiety, obviously I want to state I am no doctor, but
Hmm.
at the same time, like just being active has really helped me with that, and I would, encourage people to explore that, and just see like what it does. Like I don't think there's really anything negative that comes out of being active, living an active or healthy lifestyle.
Hmm.
But yeah, training for me, man, the mental health thing is huge. It also is a challenge in itself. And it's like if I can overcome this challenge of going to the gym, right? Like putting stress on my body, it's going to make me more resilient as an individual physically and when anything else I do in my life,
Hmm.
and there's often times where I'm sure you've had really hard workouts where you've like had that moment where you wanted to sleep in and then you pushed further and you went to the gym and it starts to give you momentum in a really positive way where maybe you are at work and something bad happens at work but
Hmm.
you can kind of recall on like those tough times you had with training or those times you wanted to give up but you didn't and then you start to see that this thing kind of flows over to everything else in your life. So with training for me, man, it's just been just super uh comparable to everything we go through in life, right? And in training, right, we put stress on the muscle, we're tearing that muscle down, but it's going to come back stronger. And in life, we get
Hmm.
things thrown at us that are trying to maybe break us or take us on a path of least resistance, but we push forward and then we become stronger individuals, right? Like the person you are today is not who you were 5 years ago physically and mentally, and neither am I. And I think that's all something we should strive for. So by being able to strength train and get in the gym, it's just, made me a better individual. It's also obviously made me a better coach.
Yep.
Like being able to train myself, I can relate to other people because it's just my
Hmm.
profession. So,
Hmm.
I have a lot of experiences that I can recall on to then help the people that I'm trying to serve. Even like today, it was something super simple. I was coaching a workout and it was something with one of the pieces of equipment, but I had just said something to the person and he was like, that's wisdom. He's like, because you had been doing that for a long time to understand that. And I just was
Right.
like, to me, it's like not a big deal, but I could see from what they were doing, they were not doing it right or a little bit confused.
Uh-huh.
But it was kind of like a cool moment. It was like, yeah, dude, like I've been doing this for a long time. So I
Yeah.
can use that to help other people who are in a similar situation or similar journey.
That's so funny, dude. Did you ever think, man, like that Joey doing sit-ups in the bathtub, dude, taking a shower and stuff? Did you think that Joey would have a gym now and coaching people on how to perform, man, just how to be better? Did you ever think that?
Yeah, no. So my original goal was to work for the government, and fitness was always something that was just in my life and
Uh-huh.
something that I had enjoyed. But it wasn't until I was in college that I was kind of having this weird moment where I was like, just I was just so confused with where I was at in my life, and I never really had
Yeah.
those feelings before.
Mhm.
Because I was always like, I was going for that American dream. Like I was going to graduate college. I was going to go and try to work for the government. I was going to get a sweet job. I was going to get married, have a house, kids, and I had it so laid out in my mind, and it was weird because if you were to look at me, everything was like going there. There wasn't a reason why I should feel this way, but
That's crazy.
for some reason that there was, and I didn't know how to handle those feelings. So it kind of put me in like a strange place for a little bit. And, I started just kind of going back to my roots of like, I love training. So I started
Mhm,
training hard, and I was
mhm.
presented with an opportunity to help a family friend who is starting a smaller, it was more like a boutique gym, I would say at the time, where there was
Okay.
like a lot of like group fitness classes, but they also did have like a training room, and it kind of did like everything. But for some reason, it really just piqued my interest. It was something like at the time I thought was just a really great opportunity, which it was. And I got involved with that, and then just kind of like immerse myself into working with as many people as possible, all sorts of different people. I was doing tons of different things, but I started naturally gravitating more towards just the strength training and strength and conditioning.
Mhm.
And that kind of in my mind, like, after 2 years of school for psychology and criminology, I had changed my major to kinesiology. So
That's so cool, dude.
yeah, so I switched over to that, and then I started working towards that,
Mhm.
and I just stayed in that industry, and here we are, and it just had its own crazy path, and now I just kind of recently had put on my social media that, and before this was kind of like, how would I say, it wasn't confidential. I would say some of the people I work with were confidential, but I did work with a
Yeah.
lot of people in the government and the military.
Mhm.
So now I kind of the best of both worlds, where I get to help these people,
Yeah.
train, and I have a lot of other cool projects that I'm kind of working on, while I still get to have the gym, because it's tough for me, man. Like I like everything. Like a part of me is like, I still want to work for the government, but then the other part of me is
Yeah.
like, I love running this business and this brand, so it's kind of,
Mhm.
I'm always in my head like, if there's a way that I can do it all, I'm gonna try my best to.
Yep, absolutely. No, dude, that's so funny, man. I feel you on every single level that you just explained because when I was in the military, my last, I'm getting out, right, and like I became sergeant in 3.5 years I was in those last few months. They're like, hey, reenlist or reenlist, reenlist. I'm like, dude, no, I don't want to reenlist. I just want to do one contract and get out. And so when I was getting out, I'm obviously getting asked, what are you gonna do when you get out? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Like, I just don't know because I hated school. Training never made me do better in school. I couldn't. The school just wasn't for me, dude. I tried doing college like after high school, and I just failed the first semester. So I was like, dude, I can't do this. Um, but then whenever I was getting out and I was like, my few months out or whatever, um, I was still, coaching my soldiers. I was still a part of everything, and I was helping them still get better at their PT scores and just become better as soldiers. And they were the ones that were like, yo, you should coach, or like, I don't know how you do this fitness stuff, but you've helped basically everyone here, get better on their PT scores. And like, that's the number one thing that people look at whenever you're trying to climb the ranks, especially when you come in as like a low private. They look at your PT scores to see if you're like physically inclined. And if you can be physically inclined, then you kind of have like an advantage over a lot of people. But whenever, I was doing that, they're the ones that told me. So I was like, okay, I'll look into this, right? So then I had a buddy of mine show me a school that was in a bodybuilding magazine at the time, and it was ISSA, so the International Sports Science Association, and they had a program that. So I went in, and because they accepted tuition assistance from the military, so I was like, oh, okay, hell yeah, I'll do it. So then I went in, and then got my certs or whatever, and then got my degree. And then I did 1 year in, and I did 1 year after that out, and I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do, because I was like, I had no idea, man. Like, I was a new trainer, and I've never really like coached people like certified, and this is a whole new world. Like, I just don't know. So I tried the gym scene, and that did not work out. And I was trying to figure out, like, who am I gonna coach? And I remember getting an online coach to mentor me, and all this niching down stuff, dude. Like, hey, you need to niche down and find this. Hey, you need to niche down and find who you want to train. Like, figure out who the person is you want to coach. And that just never sit well with me, dude. Like, I just couldn't. And I understand that. I understand why that's important, because you just need to know who you're talking to. But it's hard whenever you just have such a I guess like a passion like yourself as well. Like you just attracted to so many things. Like how can you block out all this other stuff and focus onto one thing if you want to help someone else and you know that area too? Like, well, how do you do it, you know? And I still wanted to be involved in like the military and stuff like that. So then I started like volunteering for future soldier programs and helping the future soldiers like get into shape so that when they get to basic, they can excel inside of basic and have no problem, you know, because there's people that were getting in that were completely out of shape and they were failing and failing and failing, and they would just kind of like push them through, you know, like let the unit take care of them. But I didn't want that because that stuff would irritate me, dude. So I wanted to help them, you know, get better whenever they're going to basic. And even though I'm helping a small little group of people that maybe not even made any difference, it made a difference for me. You know, it made me feel like a part of something that I still wanted to do. So I totally feel you, dude, on all those levels. And you know, I think it's hard for like, especially in this industry, dude, to kind of like niche down. And well, it is for me. Like I don't know how it's been for you, but niching down has been a problem for sure.
Yeah, for me, you know, I really just came to the conclusion that I just love strength training, you know,
Mm,
and I would throw like some conditioning in there as well. The niche I kind of fell into just by accident was more strength training, but I also have a lot of strongman and strong women competitors at my gym, and it just kind of happened that way because I was competing in it, and you know, since I was, people were interested. It was a growing sport at the time. When I first opened my business, long story short, was actually going to
mm-hmm,
be a CrossFit affiliate. And it was
mm,
kind of funny though, because the CrossFit affiliate was really a way to kind of trick people in with the branding of CrossFit. And then I was
right.
actually going to change the programming a little bit. So it's like some things would be like CrossFit,
uh-huh.
but I felt like there was such a strong like draw to the brand.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
felt like the people who did CrossFit had the mindset that I wanted to work with.
Mm-hmm,
But there were things about CrossFit that I thought it had its flaws at the time.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
I was like, okay, if I can get these people who have this mindsets and then they get in the door and we still give them a little bit of CrossFit, but then I kind of show them like what I'm about. And I remember doing that. And I talked to my buddy who he has a gym, and he was like, dude, he was like, why wouldn't you just become your own brand? Like, why are you gonna
yeah.
like? And I was like, yeah, dude. Like for some reason, like it just took him to say it because I respected him a lot.
Uh-huh.
And if he said it, I was just like, yeah, this guy's right. Like I didn't have enough confidence in myself to do it,
Mm-hmm,
basically. So then I
mm-hmm,
was just like, okay, I'm not gonna affiliate with CrossFit. And I still thought maybe I was going to get a lot of Olympic weightlifters because at the time that was something I was really known for. Like early on in social media was Olympic weightlifting, and that was some of the early content I put out. So I was like, okay, well, we'll probably get a lot of weightlifters, and then that didn't happen. So I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of strange. So
right.
it basically was just like general strength and conditioning.
Uh-huh.
But then for some reason I got into the strongman thing, and I started seeing like all these people had a lot of fun doing it. And then
Yep.
now, you know, I program for a lot of the top strong men and women, you know, in the U.S., which is kind of like a weird, like little niche I got into. But at the same time, kind of like you were saying, like I have a lot of different people, like general population clients I do train
Mm-hmm,
at the
mm-hmm,
gym. It's like 50% just general pop, and then the
mm-hmm.
rest there's like some people who aspire to do well in strength sports. But for me, it's just like I'm just pumped about strength training personally. I love strength training, resistance training, you know, cardiovascular health with conditioning. So in that essence, it's like, no, like I'm not a Zumba guy. Like, you know, I'm not an
Zumba.
endurance guy. Like, you know, like I have people that are really great at that, but like I just know like my wheelhouse, and that's where
Yeah,
I
yeah,
stay. And I'll try things. Like I think a big part of it is getting on your comfort zone and trying it. But
yeah,
like when you think of me, you're not like, oh yeah, like he's an endurance guy. No, you're like
yeah.
this dude is strong. Like he gets people
Uh-huh.
strong. Like that's what he's known for. So it's specialized but generalized at the same time.
Yeah, dude. No, awesome. That's sick, dude. I like how you've found that path, dude. That's awesome. You're literally listening to your roots, dude. Like your body and mind and just spirit and your vibe is just pushing you to this direction. You just listen, you know. And that's good. I think that's where you find happiness. You know, that's where you find like true happiness in what you're doing. But whenever you get someone that's new, right? You get someone that's new and they want to get better, right? Maybe they're just general health or general fitness, or maybe someone that wants to get stronger. What is like the not the flaw, but what's like the biggest thing that you see in majority of people who are looking for training? like the biggest thing that kind of holds them back? What's like the biggest thing that you've noticed?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple that stand out, but I think from an actual training perspective, people not having a structure in place with like a program
Hmm.
or something like that. So
Hmm.
if you were literally talking about like, okay, so say somebody, it's easy for them to get into the gym, right? And then but you kind of see that same person over periods of time, and they're like not like really making much progress. To me, it's like, when I deal with people is they just come in, they do random things. There's no structure. They
Hmm.
think, oh, because I'm out of breath and I'm sweating, like that was a good workout,
Right.
versus like having like a system in place or following a structured program, or just like having a specific goal, right? Like that could be the other one, is that people just like the idea of training and working out, quote unquote, but they never actually have a specific goal that they can start tracking and measuring progress towards. So,
Hmm.
you know, when I work with people, I think one of the biggest things, like right off the bat, is, and I know a lot of coaches do this, is you just got to figure out what are their goals. And then once we have that goal, we can start to create that map. But a lot of people don't even have that goal or that map. They just go in the gym, they look around, this looks cool, I'm going to try this. And,
Right.
they're
Right.
going for a long time and they're really not seeing much progress.
Hmm.
And as a coach, like for me, it's like once we get them on a good program or a good plan, they start seeing and feeling those results, and they start getting them a lot quickly or more quickly than they were doing before. That's a really cool thing for both parties. So I would say like that's kind of a solid like starting point for some of the issues I think, or a lot of third one is people just wanting to do everything. Like sometimes it
Yep.
is hard. Like they're like we're talking about that, but we have experience. And with my own programming, I've kind
Hmm.
of found a philosophy that works well. But
Hmm.
at the same time, if we have somebody who wants to get really strong, but they're maybe only strength training like 1 day a week, and then they're doing all these other things throughout the week where they're focusing on like long distance runs
Right.
and they're like just all over the place. It's like,
Doesn't make
you know,
sense.
and they're just wondering like, okay, well, how come I didn't get to this goal? It's like, well, if we want to get better at this, we need to do this more consistently and put a plan and practice for this.
Mm.
Um, so that's what I have sometimes. Like I know personally I have people who are like, yeah, I want to get strong. But it's like, okay, so what do you do? And they're like, well, I run like every day.
Right.
And it's just like, well, do you train? They're like, well, I do like, a little bit of arms here and there. And I'm like, okay. Like, so we gotta like actually get you
Yep.
strength training pretty consistently. Not saying that running and strength training can't be done, but if like the majority of your time is spent running and you're telling me you want to get stronger, it's
Hmm.
like, okay, we have to reevaluate what's going on here and come up with a good system. And that's like very beginner like, but I think those are a couple of ones that I see kind of right off the bat.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's yeah, the structure, definitely. Having and I also too, it just the process. I feel like because, and I don't know if you've had this experience or if you've thought this yourself, but whenever you are who you are right now, right? You are like this strong guy that people see and they're like, dude, he lifts heavy weights and he knows how to move and he knows how to do this and he's figured it out, right? And people are looking at you, and because you are their coach or their mentor, someone they look up to, for guidance, especially and structure, everything that you're saying, do you find that it's been difficult for them to understand that it's a process? This is a journey to get to where you want to be at. You're not just going to get there by even just grinding out in a month or 2 months. Like you could gain some major progress in that time frame, but you know this, I feel like whenever they go through these little mental roadblocks of like, hey, how come I'm not there yet, or how come I'm not this and that yet, like we didn't figure out how our bodies reacted or this and that too from the get-go. We had to go through trial and error as well. So how do you deal with like someone who's just struggling with wanting it now versus, I understand the process, I understand this is going to take a little bit, I understand my body is needing to adjust over a period of time, and I will get there. So like, how do you kind of like deal with people's mentality of understanding that specific subject?
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because I remember one time I was running just like a weight loss group, and
Mm-hmm.
I was having trouble with this one individual because when I was talking to them, they kind of like had this like rolling their eyes, like body language, and basically it
Yeah.
was like, well, this guy, it's easy for him to say, right? It's easy for him to say,
Right.
and
Right.
I now I always talk about my past because I at that time it was like one of the first ones I had done. This is a long time ago, and
Uh-huh.
I did never brought up that like. I was chubby, I had low self-confidence. And anyway, so I ended up pulling this person aside and I brought a picture in, and I was just like, like this is what I was like, and I want to say, like, just because I look like this,
Mhm.
like I know what it's like to be where you're at with your mentality and how you feel, and it took a long time for me to get here. Like, this wasn't easy for me, it's still
Yep.
not easy.
Mhm.
Um, so, like, something like that, I feel like has been impactful with clients. Not to say that I've had to do that. Like, and in the beginning now, I try to, one, to kind of your point is like relate to them, be
Yeah.
relatable, like, make them feel like you do understand where you're coming from, and kind of go back thinking like, what was it like as a beginner, right? Like, we've been doing this for a long time, but
Mhm.
often at times I sit there when there's still like an urge sometimes when you see someone doing something and you're like, ah, like the ego in you does kick in. You're like, well, they should. And then you're like, the moment I start saying, well, they should, it's like, no, like,
Right.
imagine like what it was like when you first went into the gym, right? Like, there's always people in here. You don't know what you're doing. You're trying to figure it out. Like, so just changing that mindset as a coach definitely helps figure out how can I deliver the best possible messages to get them to kind of
Mhm.
do what I want and be compliant to it. And then on top of that, like you had said before, for me, like what I feel like really helps is these small goals for the process, right? So it's like
Yep.
oftentimes you get people who are like, okay, I want to lose 30 pounds, and then they do something for like 1 or 2 weeks, they don't see any change,
Right. Right.
and then they quit, and it's
Mhm.
just like, well, instead of 30 pounds, maybe 30 pounds is like the big goal, but it's like, well, what can we do today, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, well, let's break down 30 pounds into 6 weeks.
Yep.
All right. So that's 5 pounds, progressively here and there. But it's like,
Mhm.
so focusing on these like small attainable, goals will then help them build momentum and, start to keep implementing the same actions, which then become habits. And
Mhm.
then that's where we get them to where we want to be. So for me, it's always like you said, getting them to understand the journey that and being upfront and honest with them, like it is going to
Yep.
be a journey,
Mhm.
because some people, like, they need to know the truth. Like, instead of me like being like, yeah, you're gonna lose like blah blah blah. It's like, okay, I'm gonna give you the reality. Like, this is gonna take work, but like we can do this. Like, we're gonna get
Yep.
through this together. It's gonna be a
Mhm.
process. And what works best is if we can break this down into small sustainable steps,
Mhm.
and create good habits. And it's like, what can we focus on the positive of today? Can we do that? Cool. Check. Awesome. Do it the next day, the next day, the next day. And then before you know it, they start to see those results or feel the results. But the problem is everybody gives up like just before that happens.
Yes.
And that's why it's so tough. And or we have like, the yo-yo effect with people losing, gaining weight, or
Mhm.
coming to the gym, leaving the gym. So, for me, like you said, it's just getting them to understand the process of it, and being upfront and honest with them, sharing my own personal experiences, making me able to connect and get them to know, like, and trust me. Because then if they're able to know, like, and trust me, they're going to be more willing to uh, do what I want them to do, and we'll get the desired outcome.
Right. You know what helped me do the most in my journey, like, and even just with training other people, because there's other my clients I've coached. It's whenever you go to get a mentor or a coach, right? It's like you got to be extremely vulnerable. Training and fitness is vulnerability, like 100%. You are going somewhere where you might not feel comfortable at all. You might be around people that you have no idea like who they are, and you just know that they want to grow too, or they're in a higher level, maybe on a fitness level, but you want to be there as well. So you're trying to surround yourself with these people. You're creating vulnerability whenever you are talking with someone, a coach. People are talking to you about, their nutrition. You're diving into someone's life, so like you're being 100% beyond vulnerable. And I think that is one thing that truly did help me, especially with like me growing as just an athlete overall, just me being vulnerable and being okay with that. And, like if I've been training for 13 years, and it took me a long time to be the person to ask someone like yourself, man, like, how can I get better at a deadlift, or how can I get stronger on a squat? Like, how am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something right? And I'd feel like, because I've been training for so long, I should have this. But me being vulnerable and me kind of, expanding my mindset, like we said earlier, that is what helped me grow as also a coach too. And that's one thing I could push to my clients is like, you're going to be in times like where, yeah, I've had clients cry in the gym. I've had clients yell in the gym. I've had clients, express themselves, on a like high emotional level. Talking to someone that you don't even know and they want you to coach them, they're also being extremely vulnerable, because it's kind of embarrassing whenever you tell someone that is, this big dude, man, like coming to you, man. They're like, this guy's huge, man. He's like, looks intimidating. I know he wants to help me, but I got to tell him that my day consists of not moving at all, Taco Bell, McDonald's, no water, just a bunch of soda. And he's going to look at me like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, we just look at, someone that doesn't know how to do this thing the right way. And they just need the structure and process, like we've been saying this whole time. But vulnerability, dude, if I could label it with one word, that would be the word that would help a lot of people that are, everything that you just explained, and that's one thing that truly did help me as well.
Yeah, I think I really try hard to push vulnerability of myself on my social media platforms, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I kind of said before. But getting people to know, like, and trust me is like
Mm-hmm.
they're able to connect with me. They start to see, even when I like do, or when I screw up or I do stupid stuff, like I put that out there,
Yeah.
because I want people to see like that. Like, I'm not always perfect. I put
Mm-hmm.
my fail lifts up there. I
Mm-hmm.
talk about when I'm having a bad day. I put up times where, like, I just did a big cut, and there were times where I was just like, yeah, dude, like I ate bad. So it's just like I want people to see that humanistic side of things.
The
Um,
reality, right?
yeah, and even like a funny kind of story with my business, and this is definitely like a screw up that was an unintentional screw up, and I talked about this on the new episode of the podcast. Was I called it the Lion's Den as the gym, but and then at
Oh,
the bottom
nice.
it says elite training facility,
Uh-huh.
and in my mind, the word elite to me was the culture that I was trying to make with,
Mm-hmm.
like, just having awesome people in there,
Yeah.
people who are going to help each other out. We're going to level you up. Um, but unfortunately, the outside perspective that is I have to be at this level
Yep.
before I can come here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never my intention. Like, and I'm sure you've had examples of, like, the way you were thinking about it wasn't the way it was taken, it was misinterpreted. So, now I'm backtracking, and I'm probably going to rebrand at some point to kind of change that a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to put that message out there that the word elite, uh, to me, is just the caliber of human being you are, and
Mm-hmm.
are you willing to be vulnerable? Are you willing to help other people? Are you willing to put in the effort and the work to become your strongest self, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever that means to you?
All right.
Um, but it doesn't mean that, to get started on your fitness journey, you need to be here first. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's not for anybody listening to this. Like, if you guys have change and you want to start, like, start today, start right now, because that is what the elite version of yourself would do, right? They would take that action. So it's just kind of funny from a business standpoint, like, such good intentions, with that,
Yeah,
but a
man.
slight little bit of a backfire. So now I find myself, like, always wanting to clarify that with anybody that I talk to, because really what it's about is just growth and betterment, and it doesn't matter, like you said, like how they view themselves. Maybe coming
Mm-hmm.
to up to us is not how we view them, and I think it's
Right.
important to say that. Like we are now, and have them also realize from our perspective, like, this person truly does want to help me, and they're in this because they're passionate about it, and they're good people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. Just, the the words are very powerful, dude. Words are very powerful, especially when you're talking to somebody, for sure, what they're viewing. And everyone has different perspectives, right? Everyone's gonna take in something differently. We might have said things right now that people are gonna take in a lot differently than we just said, and that's just the reality of, having millions of people in the world. Everyone has a different mindset and perspective, for sure. But I think that's good that you do put it up there. I think to me it is good. But that's crazy. I would have never thought of that until you said it, dude. Like, that's what people would think that they would have to be at, just to walk in. But for you to tell yourself, especially if you're someone that's brand new and you're going to this, place, and it says, elite strength conditioning performance or elite something, or you think that you got to be this crazy Olympic athlete to walk into this gym. I think it's good that you keep telling yourself that you're going to be at a high level. Like, walking into this place is going to get you to a higher standard or raise your bar just a little bit more, because this person, this individual, you that has this gym, wants that for people. And I think that's important for people to fill themselves up with that. And it's not faking it till you make it. I've always hated that saying, but you're visualizing, you're manifesting what it is that you want to become, who you want to become, and you're putting it out there in the world, dude. You're not faking anything. If right now you have a goal to lose that 30 pounds, and right now you're just lazy, sedentary, lethargic, and you just, haven't moved in forever or never have moved at all, have never done training or fitness, that doesn't mean you can't be at that level. It doesn't mean you can't be that immaculate human being that you want to be. I feel like the simple little words and things that we tell ourselves, just like that simple word, that's going to help a lot of people. I think how we kind of just talk to ourselves, we're always going to be our biggest critic, right? Like I'll do a lift and I'll progress somehow, and for some reason I'll find the worst parts of that lift that I messed up at, or the negative parts of this thing that I messed up at, or I'll look at myself in the mirror sometimes and be like, dude, I could be better right now, but because I messed up a week ago for some reason, or I got injured, like this is causing me to look like this, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like finding the positive things out of certain things that we tell ourselves is huge. And so I'm glad you said that, dude. I'm glad maybe it's going to help other people, open up different ways to think about something for sure. But kind of touching up on injury, dude, I know you, and this is something that we can end with, because I've had 4 doctors in physical therapy. I like injury. All right, not like I want people to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt either, dude. But I know injury sucks, but it does happen whenever you're going through life. Injuries are gonna happen. You could pick something up wrong and hurt your back, and it could be something like a case of water or whatever. And I know recently you tore your bicep, dude. So like, how has the recovery process been, and how has your mentality been throughout the whole thing? 'Cause something like that, dude, is gonna humble someone for sure. So like, how have you been, I guess, growing as like a human being, as an athlete in this process?
Yeah. So I tore my bicep about a month ago. It was kind of just a random thing. It was unfortunate. And it's been honestly just kind of a weird year for me. Like I've had some of the best experiences and opportunities this year ever in my life to train and work with certain people. But as a
Mhm.
performance perspective, I had like a lot of tweaks and aches and bumps and bruises this year. And I always swear there's like that one year for everybody, like, for whatever
Just
the
goes
reason
wrong.
is. Yeah. So I just ended mine off with a full blown bicep tear. But, and I don't want to say this like, be like being cocky or whatsoever, but when it happened, immediately my mindset, like I just knew I was going to be okay because,
Yeah.
and the reason that happened was because all the things else that I've been through in my life were, this is like nowhere near compared to anything of that severity.
Mhm, mhm.
Like I've gone through issues with my business where, I have a crazy story and I'm not going to get into it, but basically, I lost 2 previous gyms before I had the gym that I have today, and I've
Right.
had this gym for 5 years, and it's just
Nice,
like,
dude. Good work.
yeah, and it was just like, okay, like I tore my bicep, like, what I know the recovery is probably going to be 12 to 16 weeks, like out of my
Mhm.
life. Grand scheme of things, really not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's going to suck. Obviously, like I'm not going out there saying, yeah, go tear this, and that's great.
Right.
Like by any means, like you said,
Either.
injuries suck.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is what it is. Like at that moment, you have to make that decision. Like, am I going to let this destroy me, or am I going to grow from this somehow? So, right when it had happened, immediately I was just kind of assessing the situation,
Mm.
and then I made that split decision. Like, I'm like gonna push through this, and I thought like, what's the best thing that I can do that could inspire, motivate, bring up morale? And it was like, after I get this checked, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna train legs tomorrow, because I knew that I could train legs. And it's like this dude just tore his bicep, right? Like, people are watching this, like, well, what's gonna be the next deciding factor? So it's like, I go train legs, and like, and people are like, holy crap, like this guy's is like, is this fake? Is this real? Like,
Yeah.
and I was able to, it was fine. There was no pain. Like I already, at that point, the biceps torn, like my other option is just surgery. So I scheduled the surgery.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like moments like that that really define like who you are. Like, are you going to cave and crumble, or are you going to prevail, which is going to make you grow and become stronger and more resilient, like we talked about. So for me, I've always favored making those decisions, and I've done them so many times that it's just made things when they happen more
Mhm.
clear on how I need to act. And uh, so I will say, like, there have been some times where mentally I'm just like, yeah, this sucks. Like,
Yep.
I never want to make it seem like everything's great. Life is amazing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's just this is the cards I'm dealt. I had to pull out
Mm-hmm.
of two really big competitions. Uh, so and that was something I was really excited for in a train. Another thing is I was recently getting into hunting, like so bow archery hunting.
Oh,
And
dope.
yeah, well, right until you tear your bicep because I had just got everything ready and I
Because
was
now you
actually
can't pull.
yeah, I was so dude, like I was like so bummed about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
but I just kept saying to myself, like, you got once again, you got to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we grow through this experience? So for me, it was like, okay, actually, I have an audience. Like, I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to take them through like my whole recovery process, and we're going to learn this together. Like, what's Coach Joe doing to help his bicep? Like,
Mm-hmm.
here's where I'm at. I don't. I'm one wing down. I'm going to do these exercises or whatever. So I just try to take that situation, and I know it's cliche, but make the most of it. Like
Yeah.
I use that as a tool in my belt, and now I can teach people or help people who've been in the same situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can
Mm-hmm.
now say, like, dude, I know what that's like, right? That's that vulnerability. Like
Yep.
I tore this, and you had shoulder problems. Like we can relate to these people. Like we know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I do talk about like when it does stink, but I say to myself, I'm like, well, here's the funny story is when I woke up out of the hospital bed, I was in pain immediately. Like I didn't get a nerve blocker or anything, and
Oh, damn.
my arm was just killing from the
Yeah.
surgery. And the doc comes in and he's like, man, like everything went great. You're on the road to recovery, blah blah blah. Real short, sweet, to the point. I was like, thanks. He goes, closes the, what is it, like
The
I don't know,
curtains,
the
right?
curtain, right? Goes to the guy next to me, and he's like, hey buddy, he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, like this is a really tough procedure. You got about 30 some screws in your shoulder right now, and we really had to like reconstruct a lot of things. And in
Right.
my mind right away I was like, this dude's recovery is going to be way worse than mine.
Right.
So I was just like, shut up. Like,
Just get
you
through
know
this shit, man.
yeah, like we're going to get through it. And time goes by, like here I am, everything's moving all right. Like obviously I'm not trying to be an idiot, but I'm
Right.
doing some stuff here and there. But I
Uh-huh.
think I grew a lot from that experience, and that's all you can ask. Like you're even if you look at things like a failure or a loss, like you're
Mhm.
you're learning from them, and you can apply those to come back even stronger. So for me, man, I'm pumped. Like this is a huge test for who I am and how I was going to
Yes.
be, and
Yes.
I got a lot of eyes on me, and that motivates me a lot. But if you don't have those eyes, just look at that as this is the test. Like what would your strongest version of yourself do in this situation, right? Like
Mhm.
how would they handle
Go
this?
train
Ask yourself
legs.
these questions. Yeah, yeah, dude, do something, right? don't don't sit in your room and suck your thumb and
Uh-huh.
think, oh my gosh, my life sucks, and make
Yep.
the most of it. So that's kind of just how I viewed it. But like I said, this has been my whole life, right? Like
Uh-huh.
it took me time to get here, but it all started with just making those simple decisions, like on a daily basis, like
Mhm.
asking myself, like, what would the strongest version of myself do right now? What's the decision they would make, or what are the actions that they would take? And I just started having a net total positive of doing those actions versus when I would choose the opposite. And there are plenty of times where I haven't done that, but it's just the net gain has been
Mhm.
more in favor for anything that I've ever tried to do, and that's who you see right now is the product of that.
Yeah, dude. No, that's sick, man. That whole story you just explained, dude, is it's just a good eye opener for sure. First of all, there's a lot of things that could be worse. I think that's always something that I tell myself a lot, dude. And one thing that has always helped me, bro, like not gonna lie, especially whenever because in the army I jumped out of airplanes and I was terrified, dude. My first 13 jumps, dude, I was like, dude, this next jump is gonna be the one, dude. I'm gonna break both my legs or something's gonna happen. But I would always tell myself when I was ever in any sort of pain or like extremely nervous or like just scared for my life or just going through like even just like a new PR or doing like a crazy ruck march and like whenever you're in the suck, dude, like you're just deep in it. Like there's just no way out. You just got to go through it, dude. I would always tell myself, sooner or later this is gonna be over. And I don't know why, dude, but that would always help me. That would always help me get through something because eventually, dude, it's gonna be over, right? Like eventually jump is going to be over. Eventually, you're going to go through the process of recovery and it's going to be over. And like eventually, this painful workout, even though it's like a 20-minute AMRAP or whatever the hell you're doing, or maybe you got a PR today and you're just nervous and you're scared, and you're still a little bit sore, whatever the case may be, and it just sucks, right? This workout sucks. Everything just sucks. You're going to get through it sooner or later. And for some reason, dude, I would always tell myself that, and that would always help me through anything, just because, it's, and that kind of always also helped me to embrace what's going on, just live in the moment. There's reasons why your life is giving you this curveball, or pulling out this card for you, right? Like there's a reason why you're here, man. Like, I guess I do kind of believe in like things happen for a reason, but like obviously your choices brought you to what's going on right now. So, but if there's an outcome of a certain situation, that happened for some sort of reason, and like that's something that you should, embrace. That's a part of your life. That's something you're going to tell, your kids and their kids, and you're going to have these stories to your clients and like other coaches, and you're going to have that experience, just like you said, of I guess it's nothing to be out like super proud of, I guess, because no one wants to get injured, right? Because that takes you out of the game for a little bit. But other than that, hey, I've torn my bicep before. Like I know how that feels like, or if someone's like having some sort of issue with some sort of injury, or that mental aspect, the mindset aspect of, I have to, just stay back a little bit, especially whenever your body is beginning to get injured and you're trying to prevent a tear, and it's going to happen if you do something crazy. Having that setback, and dialing back a little bit, taking care of the injury, part of your body, or whatever the case may be, and even dropping down weight, or just really just slowing it down, try to bring that injury back to where you're 100%, and then going out at full force. There's a huge mental aspect, just like how you've been saying with your experience, you know, that is going to make you just a better person. It's going to make you stronger in every avenue of your life, and everything that you've done with your training and your journey to opening up the gyms and all the other stuff and creating your brand, all these things that you've gone through, it's setting you up for stuff like this. These are things that you cannot prepare for because you just can't, like how do you prepare for a torn bicep? But whenever things like this happen, all the characteristics that you've been creating over the span of your life is what is preparing you to mentally be strong enough to withstand this phase in your life, and when people say freaking what throw me if life throws me lemons, I'll just make lemonade or whatever, like you tore your bicep, bro, and like, hey, next day I'm just gonna work out legs, like that's a huge mental thing to like really grasp, because I feel like the average person is not going to do that, and you've been building that mindset for this.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's just been accumulation of actions over a long period of time, and
Yep.
and in my mind, it's like, if I look at all the people who've been in it for a long time, they're
Hmm.
so good and they're experts because they've been down this journey, right? Like they only know through all these experiences that they've accumulated over those years and years of coaching or training or running a business, and really what it comes down to is just putting in the time. And if you put the time in and you stick with it, like you will eventually get there. You will eventually be an expert. And it's like, you, now kind of being in the middle of it, right? I can see myself progressing along the journey of people that I looked up to, right?
Right.
Like kind of where they were at. Like I know I'm doing the right thing. I was here, and they have all that wisdom just because they stuck it out, right? And they've gone through so many similar things. So for me, it's just cool because I kind of see like where I'm heading, and I've just put in the time where, if you're listening to this, guys, and you feel stuck, or you just don't see the end in sight, just keep pushing. Just like you said, embrace the journey and
Yeah.
embrace the suck, and then you have that to compare to when things are getting better. You kind of know like where you're heading, and it's because of those tough times that you trenched through, to get to where you're finally kind of seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, quote unquote.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm doing the best I can. Things are getting better. Life is good. Could be way worse. So I'm just grateful to be where I'm at today.
There you go, bro. That's awesome, dude. It's been great talking to you, man. You have a lot of experience and a lot of cool things, dude. And just talking to you today for this past hour has been incredible, dude. You freaking pumped me up right now. But for everyone out there listening right now, if they have any questions, bro, or want to reach out or whatever the case may be, maybe they're going through the same injury you're going through right now, or they're just going through a simple injury or whatever, or they want to learn more about strength and all the other stuff. Where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, so the platform all basically have the same name. It's Zat Strength, so SZAT, the word strength. If you want like content, articles, kind of like a hub, basically, I put together zatstrength.net. So that's where there's a lot of information, content, programs, whatever. Go check that out. YouTube is Zat Strength as well. So I put up literally 4 to 5 videos a week on YouTube where you guys can literally watch the injury of my bicep, and then literally every video after that, kind of me going through the process of how I'm kind of making that road to recovery. But there's also, I think, about 900 other videos on there of just strength training, my philosophies, kind of how I've evolved and changed over time. It's a pretty cool transformation in itself of me just getting on YouTube to document my training and all the ups and downs and the different training philosophies and styles and people I've worked with. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
And then Zat Strength just on Instagram, where I just put my thoughts. I put some funny tweets on there and pictures of my dog and me lifting weights. So it's kind of just my personal hub, but that just kind of gives you a more uh, look into just me and my life, and that's kind of where we're at. We have my podcast, Becoming the Lion podcast, probably very similar to this one, just
Mhm.
sharing really cool inspirational stories of people from all over the world. So yeah, any of those is a great way to get a hold of me, and I'm sure one way or another you'll find a way to communicate with myself, and would love to help out.
Hell yeah, man. No, dude, it's been an honor talking to you, man. Having you on the show for sure. Everything that Joey just put out right now, all the links and everything he just said, we'll make it easy for y'all. We'll put it in the show notes. It's very important, ladies and gentlemen, for you all to check the show notes of every single episode, because every single detail and every keynote and all the links that people share, just like how Joey did, it's all going to be there, and it's just quick, click and go. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out to him, go ahead and click that. You want to listen to his podcast, we're going to put it there as well. Go tune into that as well. Just be surrounded with things that you want to learn more of. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming close to the end here. And as you know, before we head out, if you have grabbed any value in this episode, you want to, you learned something, you just like Joey, man, you just like everything we're talking about, you kind of relate to the conversation we had today. This episode moved you in some sort of way. All we ask you is simply share it to your best friend, your gym buddy, your mom, dad, cousin, uncle, someone, your neighbor, coworker. The more people we get to listen to these episodes, y'all, the more lives we can all change together. And that's all we're trying to do here is inspire people to believe in themselves. But you just tuned in to another amazing episode here, and I'm your host, Coach Matt. Amazing guest speaker, freaking Joey Zat Strength. But other than that, y'all get out there, train hard.
Live strong.
Hell yeah! All right, peace.